Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Ron. How's it
Hey,
going?
how are you?
I have to play with my lighting for a minute. I seem extremely low. There we go. How are we, guys?
We are doing well.
I am also well.
Can you see me? Can you see me?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Some of you.
There we go. All righty. So how is everyone tonight?
Full.
Full?
Cool.
Yes, we just finished dinner.
Okay. You guys ready to get the show started?
Yeah.
Yes.
All righty. We were supposed to have a young lady that's joining us, so we'll give her a few minutes. Give her
Oh, that's right. I heard about her.
Yeah.
I really want her to show up.
So what's been going on?
Well, I made frosted pumpkin bars today with pumpkin from the garden.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have a trash can. Look at my room right now. You can tell I have been doing nothing but work. I didn't make my bed. I didn't do nothing. Let me see if I can turn this into the wall. I don't want to release this. And hold on, give me 1 second. I at least gotta make my damn bed.
Hey, Ron, I saw you releasing 2 books.
I am. I'm a crazy son of a bitch.
All
right.
Yes. Yeah. And one is Sunday and then one 8 days later.
Oh, wow. So you're really, how many books are you up to in your series now?
Well, not the one this Sunday. The other one will be the 3rd book in that series. And then I've got a humor book this Sunday and then a humorous science fiction novel that I wrote with a friend coming out before the end of the year. And then there'll be a book of short stories taking place in my world, an anthology written by mostly other people. But there'll be 3 stories by me in it that'll come out, I hope, in January.
Wow. Nice.
So yes, after a year and a half of not doing shit, then it's like
That's how
feast
it
or
happens.
famine. That's what I do. Take
Do we
that,
look a little
pandemic.
bit better?
Yeah,
Right. These lights would, let me see. Ah, shit on it. We're doing it. Y'all ready?
Indeed. Yes.
All right. All righty. Hello, everyone. I am Opus Night, and you have entered Night Vision. And tonight we have some friends joining us that have joined us before, and I'm so excited. I'm not even pronouncing the name. I'm not going there, Ron. You're not getting me this time. It's not happening.
Well, you got Ron right. I mean, that's better. My name is Ron Lahr.
Ron Lahr. He wants me to call him Ron
Lahr.
Lahr.
Yeah. Ron Lahr. Rhymes with car, of which I have a small collection of, and I love cars.
Like Hot Wheels?
No, old cars. I love old. I have a 1979 280ZX, a Datsun. I have a couple of old 73 Porsche 914s and an old pickup, and then a couple of modern cars that we drive, you know, in the winter in particular. I live in a place where we get real snow, so we have a couple of Subaru Epics. So right now 6, goal 50. I have to build a big shop before I can buy more cars. My wife is a real stickler.
Gotcha.
I also write stuff. So.
Well, we know this. Tell us what you write, love.
Well, right now I have a fantasy series called The Cathaldi Chronicles. Book 3 comes out October 18th, Monday, October 18th. And then this upcoming Sunday, I'm releasing a humorous book called You're as Stupid as You Are Fat, How to Talk to Women. It's a self-help book that you should not follow the advice of, but I think it's funny. And it's also quite vulgar and politically incorrect. I'm assuming I'm going to get some really interesting hate mail. Looking forward to that. And then later this year, I have a humorous science fiction novel coming out that I wrote with a friend, and its title is You Get What You Steal. And I got a book. I bought one of my paperbacks because I got tired of not having a book to hold up on shows.
Yay!
And I was
So
very
excited.
relieved because it looks great. I mean,
Yeah.
everything turned out the way I wanted. And
Show
then
it
as a
again.
surprise, my dad was like, "Hey, I want to read that." And he had never showed any interest in my stuff before. So that was fun. And he actually read the first few chapters aloud to my mother, who has Alzheimer's and can't read anymore. And she laughed, which was great. Because to be fair, before she had Alzheimer's, I totally got my sense of humor from my mother. So it serves her right to have to listen to some of the book.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That is.
Now, Jason, what's been going on in your life, love?
Well, I have a re-release, I guess, of my Ruined Man series coming out. And the first book is dropping on October 22nd. So here in a couple of weeks, we can pre-order on Amazon right now. I have not gotten my copy yet, a physical copy from the publisher. He said he'd ordered a few copies. So we're waiting for those to come in. So I don't have anything to hold up. I mean, but yeah, so that's coming out. Just like I said, the first one is October 22nd. The second book in the series will be coming out in January, and the yet to be written third book will be out next summer at some
Nice.
point.
We'll be release buddies.
I like it.
Books the same week.
So tonight I wanted to discuss a few topics that I've gotten emails about recently. So we're going to answer a few questions. Okay. What
All right.
makes a good book? Ron?
Thank you. I was thinking.
You know I'm
it
a
was-
bitch. I'm gonna
What
leave
makes a good
until
book?
you go to take a drink.
I was really hoping Jason would go first, but well, for me, I would say the books that I enjoy the most, believable characters. I mean, I was going to answer, it's written by me, but that's not true. It's the characters that grab me. I mean, I'll love setting and world building, and I mean, I appreciate all of that. But if I don't give a crap about the characters, or I can't tell them apart because they're so poorly drawn or just not distinctively drawn, then and they don't have to be like a good guy. I mean, I love a villain or an anti-hero, but I have to get into, you know, caring about the characters. So for me, that's it. The rest of it, you know, it could be like a Seinfeld episode. It could have no point. You know, it could just be great characters, and I'm still happy.
Nice. Jason?
I think ultimately, for me, what makes a good book is a good story. There has to be a good story, and you have to be bringing the reader along on some kind of adventure. Something has to be happening, and I totally agree about the characters. I mean, they have to be likable, and you have to be able to connect with them, because you have to be able to almost imagine yourself being them, and so then that's really I think for me what makes that good book is that thing that I can actually step into, and it feels like I'm there, and so I think that's why the story for me, because I want to be living that, as I'm reading it. And so, yeah, those are the elements for me.
Okay. Now I'm going to get into a fun one. Where does the climax go? Ron?
For the dude right away, or the lady who gives a shit.
I knew this was coming.
I'm nothing if not predictable. No, well, I mean, yeah, for me, right near the end. I mean, I just wrote the third book of a trilogy, where it had not just the climax of the book, but of the entire series. And it's happening right at the end. There's a little bit of stuff afterwards, but because I have a short story that's going to take off like immediately after the book, there's not a whole giant, bunch of exposition or stuff happening after the climax. So for me, pretty close to the end.
Okay, Jason.
Yeah, that's I agree. I mean, about 2/3 of the way through the book, I think that's my sweet spot that I always try to write for is about 2/3 of the way. That way, I still have some room on the back end to resolve things and finish things out and start building up for the next thing if it's they're going to be more than one book and that kind of stuff. So I like to have a little bit of room there. So about 2/3 of the way in.
Now, how broad does a story structure have to be? Ron?
Jason never goes first. I'm not going to answer. After you, Jason.
Ron, you are why I do this show. You know this, right?
You.
Just to torment you.
It feels like it sometimes.
I love it.
You're breaking up. Like I'm going through a tunnel. Jason, you answer first once.
Jason, he's a scared. Your turn.
Okay. How broad does a story? Not broad at all. I mean, there can't be. As far as the writer goes, as far as the author goes, there can't be any broadness to the story structure. I mean, in any kind of broadness that's in the story is contrived, and it has to be there for a reason, and it has to be there to ultimately drive the story. You can't just write about fluffy, I don't know. It's something happened at the mall one day, and I don't know. Maybe I'm understanding the question wrong, but and if I am, please let me know. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that shouldn't be a thing. You should go into it having the scope of your story exactly where you want it.
And that was precisely how I answered it. I literally said, when I emailed them back, I said, I will ask, pose this question, but just to let you know, my take on it is that you have to write a story that you want to write, and the tale will be as broad as you want it to be. There is no kind of defined definition of how broad a story has to be. It doesn't have to, if it takes place in a town, you don't have to incorporate every single store in the town, and that's kind of was my take on it. So I like that. Ron, did you want to answer?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. Ditto on that.
Yeah, I think Michael Moorcock, I read an interview with him. He's the guy that did Elric. And somebody was asking him, how did you create this huge expansive world like, that you did with, Elric and all this type of stuff? And he's like, I didn't. When something came along in the story that I needed, I would write it in then. And, and then go on. He's like, I didn't have this, world building thing, in mind. He just wrote as he needed, for, what he needed. So, like you were saying about, you don't need every town or every store in the town and, and that stuff. I mean, that's exactly right. If nothing's happening at the pet store, then why even mention the pet store? All the action happens at the video rental place, at the Blockbuster.
Yeah. You're defining it yourself. You're the writer. It's your world. You're creating it, and you are trying to bring other people's imagination into what you've created. So, I mean, I thought that was an amazing question. But when it was asked, I was like, I had to literally think about it for a second. I'm like, where this could be going in, different way, but this is my take on it. So I thought you guys would enjoy that one. Now, is dialogue necessary in a book? Because I do know that a lot of authors have it becomes problematic for a lot of authors. And that was one of the questions I had received as well. Can you write a story that does not have dialogue?
Sure. I don't know that I have any interest in writing a story that doesn't have any dialogue, but I could see it happening. I mean, but for me, I personally love a lot of dialogue because I like when the characters are interacting, and I like, I mean, in my fantasy novels and even the science fiction, I mean, there's a lot of people giving each other crap, and I enjoy that. So without dialogue, I think it would be less enjoyable for me.
Okay. Jason?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, I'm sitting here trying to think, what kind of story would I write that had no dialogue? And I mean, how? How would you do that? Even a character that you're writing first person point of view only, there's going to be some kind of like internal interaction. There's going to be some kind of internal dialogue, because that's just how people are. I mean, there's internal dialogue going on in each and every one of us every single day. So how could you leave that out of a story? I mean, I don't see how that would work. And a lot like Ron, I love the characters and the interacting, and them riffing off each other, or that kind of thing, exploring things and stuff like that. Through the dialogue, through the interaction of the characters. I mean, this is a very necessary part of any fiction, or non, any story, really. So yeah, I don't see how that's possible.
I like that. That is good. Now, trying to remember all these questions. When does the story begin? Do you believe that the first line in the story is the most important, or the last line? Ron?
For me, the first line. I mean, you got to get people in. The beginnings of books, I think, are incredibly important. I mean, I don't like when the end of a book sucks after the rest of it was good. Like the original version of The Stand, you read like 8 million pages, and then the hand of God comes down and blows up the bad guys. Oh, spoiler alert. But I was actually mad at the end of that novel. But especially with like Kindle Unlimited, I mean, you have a short amount of time to grab somebody and bring them in, and if your first line is not interesting and catchy in some way, I think you're making it harder for yourself.
Okay. Jason?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think they're both equally important. But yeah, you definitely have to have that really good first line, that hook, to keep the reader going. But again, I like to, and I'll often sit for a long time wondering over the last paragraph of the book, because I do like that sense of completion, that the story had a beginning, and here's the end, and and now it's a complete thing. And so I do that's really what I focus on. It's everything in between that I have the most problem with.
Now, do you think the ending can save a book that's just you haven't really enjoyed the book, but you haven't really not enjoyed it? It's kind of like, it's kind of going both ways. Certain parts you like, certain elements, and then you get to the end. And do you think an ending can save a book, Jason?
No. No. I mean, if I didn't like a book, if I wasn't into it, chances are I'm not even going to get to the ending. So
Yeah,
yeah.
No.
that
I
was
mean-
my first thought. Is we'll never know. You know. I mean, but if perhaps if a book was just good enough to keep me reading, you know, but I wasn't loving it,
Mhm.
and then it had an amazing ending, I could see that happening. It has never happened that I have read a book and thought, this is just okay, and then got to the end and thought, but this ending, holy moly, this is the best. I usually think, yes, this book is done. You know, that's it.
Right.
Because I do read a lot, and there are times when I don't, my to be read list is short, and I start reading something and I don't necessarily love it, and I'm like, ugh, I still want to read something. So I've kept with it, but never have they surprised me with an awesome ending. I feel like they would have had to have a friend of theirs write the ending for it to be awesome if the entire beginning and middle of the book was not awesome. You know, like, you know, hey, could you step in and finish this for me?
Yeah,
Right. I mean,
do either one of you like collaborations? Because
I do. I love it.
some do and some don't.
I love it. I have written a bunch of stuff with a bunch of people. I mean, a lot of it not for publication, for fun.
Mhm.
That's how much I love writing. But I do have one coming out. You Get What You Steal. Harlan Ellison had a book called Partners in Wonder, and in it, it was all short stories he had written with other people. And either before or after each story, he would describe how they wrote it. And there was one where Harlan Ellison would write a page, and then he would hand it over to the other guy, and he would write a page, and they went back and forth. Now, for fun, they were trying to screw each other. So they would try and write the story into a corner. And I had a friend, and we were having a poker night. This is in the old timey days before they had cell phones, and a bunch of people canceled, and I couldn't get a hold of one guy, and he ended up showing up, and I said, hey, let's write a short story. And we did that format, but without the screwing each other. And it ended up turning into a novel. And now, you know, 30 years later, 30 years later, we got back in touch, and we're going to release the book, which is how I get one of my extra books this year.
That's awesome.
But it was very fun I mean, we were kids and we were writing on a typewriter, an electric typewriter at least. But I mean, I would write and I would finish, and he would, you know, read that page and then go forward. And when it was my turn and I'd receive a page from him, it was awesome. I mean, it was so fun. We just had a great time. And I've done other stuff like that. And even the anthology where I'm editing everybody's work is somewhat of a collaboration, because I'll be like, hey, this character doesn't have enough. I mean, you know, they're not three-dimensional, and you know, one guy wrote a story using characters from the books, and when I read it, I was like, man, you know, I want these characters don't live the way you have them interacting. They don't seem alive at all. And then I gave him a bunch of notes. I mean, I've been giving a lot of notes to people, and so it has changed the stories. I mean, so it's still collaborative, even though I'm not, you know, an author of those stories. And I very much like it. Although giving people notes the first time you do it with someone, and a particular author, is terrifying, because some people are not great at constructive criticism, even if you mean it, you know, in the most well-intentioned way. Some people just can't take it. And so I never know, because one of my best friends, he wrote a short story when we were in high school, or right after high school. He wrote a short story, and this guy is so funny. He's awesome. And I read the story and I said, I don't like it. I don't see the point of it. It was like that Paul McCartney song, you know, someone's knocking at the door. It was like, someone's knocking at the door. Do me a favor, open it up and let him in. And you're like, is he just writing what is happening to him today? That song seems like it took no effort. And that's what his story's like. It was just a description of some shit happening. And and we were very close, and I thought I could be very honest with him. And the next thing I wrote, he hated because he was so upset about it. And it was ridiculous. I mean, nobody else had the reaction he had to the story. And I'm like, okay, no real criticism for him ever again. You know, I just got to accept him the way he is. And now he doesn't write anymore. So I think maybe he was too sensitive.
Jason, how about you, dear?
I love the idea of a collaboration. I mean, I've never actually, I don't think I've really collaborated on a project. You know, but yeah. I mean, I would love to try it if I met the right author, and you know, we're gelling together and had this great idea, and you know, let's turn this into a world. You know, I had a friend. We made a you know, a shared world. And, you know, so one of my favorite fantasy series is actually a shared world collaboration, the Thieves World.
Yes.
I mean, absolutely love it. I just got done rereading it. And so, I mean, you know, I love the idea of a shared world and having all these authors, you know, come together and write and create characters in this world, and, you know, using each other's characters and, you know, that sort of thing. It's awesome when done well, and can be fantastic. You know, but, you know, the other end of it is, you know, it can also, you know, fall flat, because you know what they did, creative writing professors the world over, whenever they came out with that idea, then it's like, oh, we're going to use this, and you know, and this is going to be you know, what do we do in creative? The small town. We have to create, you know, and it's this shared world of this small town, and everybody's writing a character, and you know, there really has to be, you know, some kind of artistic chemistry there, you know, some kind of you know, inspiration that's shared between both people. I think, you know, that's just my opinion.
I agree. I like
For me,
now.
one of the things I love about collaborating. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. We have someone joining us. I just want to make sure she connects with us right quick. We can't hear you, dear.
Hi. So sorry about that. I don't know why it wouldn't let me into the meeting before now.
Now we have two other authors. Then we've had so much fun. We have been discussing all the questions that have been posed in the past month. I have reviewed, and that's where we are. Okay. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Tahani Nelson. I'm the author of the Faye Chronicles, a female-led military fantasy series.
Okay. Now, guys, is it okay with both of you if we give her 5 seconds to be able to show her book and let her read the blurb?
Of course.
All good? Okay. Tahani, would you like to show us your book, dear?
I'm so sorry. I didn't
I'm
know anything about this, so I don't have a book with me.
You know, the little mute button keeps flashing on and off, and it's driving me nuts.
I'm sorry. I have it on push to talk. I didn't know anything about this. I don't have a book right here with me. Hold on a second.
Okay. Do you have a blurb? Or
I sure do. I can. Yeah.
Just take a deep breath and go ahead and read it to us. Oh, can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Sorry, it's on push to talk, and I can't open up the blurb and apparently push to talk at the same time.
That's okay. How about you just tell us about it?
All right. So the last Faye is the first book of my series. I also have Faye Betrayer and Faye Ascended is coming out next month. They are a female-led military fantasy series. The Faye are a group of matriarchal warriors that have protected Imerial for centuries, and the books follow the order as it evolves and protects Imerial from different outside forces and armies.
That sounds awesome. Is your book behind you? The book.
Yes,
the
actually,
book?
that's right. I have here on this side is the last Fire Betrayer, and the newest one coming out soon is Fire Ascended. It's
Oh,
coming out on
beautiful.
November 16th.
Nice. Now, you have two books? There
Two are out currently, and then the last one comes out on November 16th, and then I have an anthology coming out on October 20th as well.
Awesome. I love that. Good for you. Okay, we're going to go back to the questioning, okay?
Yes, that's fine.
All righty. Thank you for joining us, dear.
Yeah, thank you for letting me into the meeting.
Oh, don't mind the room tonight. Ordinarily, the guys will tell you it looks amazing. Orpheus, who is my shadow, he's a skeleton. He and I had a lot of things we had to do today, and unfortunately, I had to move my whole house over to one side because we had water damage. So just to let you know, we're kind of in cramped space.
That sounds terrible. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's been a fun month. It's been a fun month, put it that way. Yeah. So just so you know, this area is all you're allowed to look at. Just over here. Okay. Over here.
Done.
Okay, let's get back to the questions and get serious. So let me think of one of the others that was asked.
I have one.
You have one? Go right ahead, dear.
Yeah. Can we all explain what we're wearing? I'll start. I'm wearing a dress shirt and a sport coat from my consulting collection when I was a consultant. Jason.
T-shirt and cap. That
Nice.
is, it's basically my wardrobe. I might have a dress coat, but I do not have any dress shirts, I don't think. So I usually do the dress coat, sport coat over the T-shirt.
Oh, nice. Because I was a consultant for many years, I have, I think, 25 sports coats, several suits, 2 tuxedos, and I don't know, 40 dress shirts. So this is like a rare chance for me to get to dress up, unless we go to a fancy restaurant. I never get to wear my own stuff.
Stand up, we can't really see you.
Well, I don't know if I have the room here. You know, I mean,
You
wearing
do.
my blue blazer. There we are. And then, what baseball hat are you wearing, Jason?
Oh, it's from the Colorado Renaissance Festival.
Oh, nice.
Went up there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Summer, yeah, it was a blast.
Is it Tahani?
It is, yes.
Tahani, what are you wearing today? Or maybe I should say, who are you wearing?
Currently I'm just wearing a leather breastplate and spalders and bracers. I've been wearing armor to every book event I've had for several years now because I do write military fantasy and it's a lot of fun. It helps me connect with new readers, and a lot of people come up and talk to me. Even if you never read my books or you never talk to me again, you're going to remember you saw me today.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no shit.
I love
Can
it.
we see the whole breastplate?
We can definitely try.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
There we go.
Nice.
Fantastic.
There's
nice.
some dragons further down that you can't quite see, but if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, I post Facebook stuff or pictures stuff all the time.
Very nice. I like that.
Thank you so much.
And I write dark literature, so everyone knows. So they'll tell you, you never know what I'm wearing, but it's always going to be black because that is my wardrobe. For the most part, that is my wardrobe. And sometimes, even less. So back to the questions. I had some serious questions here that I was asked to pose to you. So here we go. Now, when you are creating dramatization in a scene, how do you do such? You want to try one, Tahani? You want to answer this one for the fans?
When I add drama to a scene, it kind of depends on what sort of drama we're going for. If we're doing a battle scene, then I'm more likely to use shorter sentences, a lot of imagery, a lot of sense, and then very, very short, like sporadic sentences rather than long flowing sentences. And then it really, I think, puts you into the idea of the drama, that there's something going on and there's too much happening at once.
Very nice. Very nice. Jason? How about you?
For me, it's about tone and setting the right tone for whatever the scene is going to be. And so, that's what happens. I usually vary sentence structure, pretty consistently. I like to vary it. But yeah, so when I'm trying to add drama to a scene, that's what I do, is consider the tone, and figure out what words to use there and what type of imagery that I want to build around that tone. So that's how I approach it.
Okay. Ron?
I have two answers. One is I don't have any drama in my works. It's mostly about food and eating. So food and eating in space for science fiction, or gardening and eating in a fantasy world. That was my first answer. My second answer, which is just as serious as that, is I just kill somebody. Somebody dies. That's how you know something dramatic's happening. They may choke on a fish bone, but still, they die, and that's your clue. Neither of those are true. Neither of those are true. I mean, it really depends on what is happening. I mean, I try to do whatever is called for in the appropriate place, and that can be different things. I mean, whether it's tone or definitely shorter sentences. I mean, that doesn't always happen, though. Ugh, yeah. I don't know. Now I'm gonna have to read one of my books. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. That's what I'm here for.
To see what I do.
Just to nag you. So when is the time that you decide, it's time for the next book? Ron?
Oh my God, I have like 15 books planned out. So the time for the next book is as soon as I finish a book.
Okay.
Then I'm working on, I think like most authors, I have more ideas than I'm ever going to get to. And every time I write a book, my brain in a vicious attempt to distract me from finishing whatever it is I'm writing, a story, a short story, or a novel, will come up with a dozen ideas that it wants me to give precedence to, and I just write them down, type them out in a file I keep, and then get right back to work, because screw my brain. I'm going to finish whatever I'm working on. I hate that thing.
Just gets in the way.
My mortal enemy.
Yeah.
My nemesis.
Tahani, how about you, dear?
With my books, I knew that there was a long story I wanted to tell. So the very first book happens, and then the second book is like 200 years after that, and the third book is 100 years after that. And that's the end of the story, the entire tale I wanted to tell everybody. So I just wrote them as I finished one. I would start writing the other one, and now they're all out. But I don't know what's going to happen after this. I don't know if I'm ready for another book next, or if I'm still stuck in this world.
Nice. Jason?
Well, I guess it depends on if I have a story to tell or not. I'll sit and marinate on ideas and plots and characters and things like that for quite a while before I actually sit down and start writing anything, and then it happens pretty fast. But I have to get the story first, and then I say, okay, yeah, I'll turn that into a book. And so it's very arbitrary in my head. So yeah.
Okay. Now, how do you decide what goes in the blurb? Because there's been a kind of general consensus that you want bits and pieces from the book. And then I've had other authors who have said, basically, you want a synopsis of the book.
I mean,
how do you feel about
I have a meme
Right.
that I use
He's
as an
being
outline.
smart. I'm just messing with him, Jason. Go ahead, dear. Answer me. Perfectly fine, Ron. I mean, Jason. Go ahead. See, Ron, you're getting me again.
Mission accomplished. I don't even write books. I'm just here to bother you.
I know. See, this is why we should write a book. We are those
Yeah.
two that are going to get under each other's skin and
That
corner
would be
you.
fun.
Yep, I believe it. I know it. Jason?
Huh? What? Oh no, I was just saying. I have a meme about how to write a book blurb, and I always just go right to that.
Oh, interesting.
Well, I will say I hate blurbs that are a synopsis of the story. I mean, it's like for movies when they give away too much in the commercials, I'm mad. Especially comedies where you go and you're like, every time I laughed was in the commercial. You know, that pisses me off. But I'm not awesome at writing them. And when for my first book of my Cathaldi series, when the audiobook people approached me, they were like, "Oh, we need to write a blurb for you." And they got like a blurb expert to come in, and I loved what he wrote. And so now I try and do what he did, you know, for the future, all my other books, because I very much enjoyed what he did. And mine, I did like 5 versions, and I didn't like any of them.
I'll send you my meme. It really helps.
Please do.
Yeah.
I would love help.
I love the idea of a blurb expert. I did not know such a thing existed.
Everybody hates writing verbs or
Oh, of
blurbs,
course.
so I'm
Yeah.
sure
But I
an
never expected
expert would be great.
I think it's amazing, but you just, it's not something, you know, that you hear every day. I think that's awesome.
He's like a blurb consultant. He does nothing but blurbs. I have no idea if that's true. I don't know what he does.
I have no idea if
But-
that's true.
I hope it
Ron,
is.
you
I hope he just
understand?
sits.
Ron,
sits
Ron
in his
loves
mansion.
to bullshit me.
Yeah. I hope he just
Go
sits in his
for it.
mansion and every week or two he writes a blurb. You know, and then a truck of money shows up. I like the idea that we live in that world.
Oh Lord. I think every other question just went out of my mind. See?
Oh no.
See? Ron, I'm turning the show over to you. Give me
Oh,
some
no.
questions. Go ahead.
Real question
Johnny on
about
the
writing.
spot.
Yeah, that's awful. I don't know. I don't even think about writing as much, except when I'm on the show. I never think about it. I just do it. All right. So wait, you're telling me, Tahani,
Yes.
when you said you don't know what you're doing next, your book is coming out next month. When did you finish the first draft of the 3rd book?
I finished the last draft of the 3rd book. Wow, probably 6 months ago now. And then I went to my alphas, and then I went to my
Right.
betas, and then I went to
No,
my
but
editors. So
what
about
about
6 months.
The first draft of that book?
Probably
8 months. See, and you're saying
probably
you
a year
have,
ago.
Oh, all right, a year ago. So for me, not only do I have more series I want to write in various genres, but I have more books in my current series that I want to write. And I was just, so for me, the question was, yeah, how long it had been since you wrote, you know, the original work, the first draft? And if it's been a year, I am shocked that you haven't, you know, had something percolate to the top of your brain, be like, I got to write this thing, you know, like, or that it would be like, write me.
That's why I have an anthology coming out of a bunch of short stories
Oh, nice.
coming out this month, because they all percolated and decided to write them. And they didn't go into the actual novels
go.
themselves, but they all take place in the same world.
I love it. Jason,
I love it.
my question for you, how did you get so awesome?
Years of practice.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Hopefully Opus has remembered some questions by now
Yeah.
before I ruin the show.
You know what though? I gotta give you credit. Every time I put you on the spot, you're on it. I'm proud. I am proud. You did me good. Jason,
Blushing.
pose some questions, please.
Odes. Oh God. I wasn't prepared for this.
I know.
I mean, so
I'm having a ball.
you, so let's talk about then like genres. You know, Ron, you mentioned wanting to write multiple series in different genres. I mean, do you have your favorites, or you know, is it just kind of what comes to you, or I mean, how do you decide what genre you want to write in?
Well, my favorites are fantasy and science fiction. Fantasy more. Um, and then I read a lot of humor as well. But I don't pick a genre to write in so much as a story surfaces, you know, a story idea germinates. And I'll give you an example. For some reason, for the Cathaldi, what started that whole everything was I was wondering, in a fantasy world where there's a pantheon of gods and there's no denying they're real, what would the people who would have been atheists in our world, you know, who are just skeptical by nature and obviously they can't be atheists in a world where there is physical proof that the gods exist. So what would they do? Would they be like, okay, well, we'll worship the gods, or would they fight the gods? Would they resist them in some way? And that, just asking that question, a story built itself in my mind around that. And inherent in the question was it's a fantasy world, you know. So that's what tends to happen to me is some story idea comes up or some question. I'm just thinking about things while I'm working in the garden. And I'm like, oh, I wonder about this. And then a story evolves out of that. And the story defines the genre for me. And for me, the ones I'm looking at in the future, I have a story that is a science fantasy story. So, you know, kind of a combination of it's science fiction, but there's still magical elements to it, you know, magical part to it. And then, you know, I really loved Ender's Game. You know, I mean, that was just a great, that's one of those novels I can read it, you know, every 10 years or 5 years and still like cry when I'm reading it, you know, it really affects me. And I love that genre of the academy. I mean, I know they have that for fantasy, they have it for science fiction, they have it for, you know, urban, you know, fantasy. I mean, the you know, werewolfy kind of stuff. And I particularly like the science fiction academy stories, and I have a series along those lines I want to write. So for me, it's the story determines the genre, and I don't pick like, oh, I think I could make a lot of money if I wrote a children's book or a romance novel or something. I can't do that. I'm not interested in it. I would rather not be as successful, but write the stories that naturally occur in my head. And I will say, one of my best friends writes to genre and is really successful, and I hate him a little bit, but I have no desire to do it at all.
Okay. Tahani, your turn, dear.
Can you repeat the question, please?
That's what I was thinking. Does anyone know what the question was after all that?
It's your turn to make up a question.
Oh, okay. Without having known what questions were already asked before I popped in so late, Ron, I get the feeling that you're more of a pantser than a plotter. Is that safe to say? Do we know this question?
I'm a hybrid,
pantser versus
totally.
plotter? Are you a hybrid? How does that work?
No, not today. I'm totally a hybrid. So I do have a plot for every story or short story or novel, but it involves an outline, and then there are bits of dialogue and particular scenes that have to happen. But it is not like I have a friend who his whole novel will be on 3x5 cards on the wall. I mean, you know, it is very detailed. And then when he sits down to write, it goes very quickly, but getting that outline, very, very detailed outline, is the writing process for him more than anything. Whereas there's a bare bones outline, and then as I think about the story, pages of notes take place, but there are huge chunks of the book that are like, they go here, You know, they travel across the continent, and so a lot of what comes out on the pages is you know seat of the pants stuff, and I love when the characters make something happen that wasn't in the outline, and I end up going off on some tangent, or it's usually not a tangent. Something emerges that I hadn't planned for. I love that. Yeah. There's my answer.
That
Jason, are
was
you
awesome.
also a plotter or a pantser?
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever written an outline for a book.
Wow.
Yeah,
I haven't either.
I write a very rough first draft usually, and you know, on the typewriter, and then sit down and work with the story and see what I like and I don't like and what's missing, and you know, start building onto it and filling it in. You know, from that angle, from that perspective. But you know, yeah, I like to get the initial idea out first, and then go back and refine it, I guess.
Just to let everyone know, this is our 30th show. So I wanted to put everyone in the spotlight and make sure that y'all had 2 seconds to be able to put any question to anyone else. And I loved it. You guys did a phenomenal job. So if I ever need to turn the show over, I knew who to call. And I think that's terrific. Guys, I have had a wonderful time. And I thank each of you for joining me. Now I'm going to go down the line, and please tell everyone what your books are, your current, and or you can go back and let us know if it's an anthology or a series, okay? Tahani.
My series is called The Faye Chronicles. You can find them at tahaninelson.com. There's 3 novels and an anthology.
Okay. And how can readers reach you?
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tahani Nelson, at all of them.
All right. Ron, my dear.
I have 4 books in my fantasy series, the Cathaldi Chronicles. The first 3 are novels, a self-contained trilogy, and then I have an anthology. Although I didn't write all the stories, I wrote 3, and a bunch of other authors wrote the rest. But they all take place in that world, and they either used my settings or my characters, or in one case the gods. One guy wrote a story where the major gods of the pantheon are the characters. And then I also have a science fiction novel coming out, that's a humorous science fiction novel. The Cathaldi books are serious fantasy, but there's a lot of humor in them, basically because it's first person, and the character telling the story is just a dick, and he thinks he's very funny. So that's where the humor comes from. The science fiction novel is a humorous novel, and it's called You Get What You Steal. And then I have, in a few days, coming my humorous self-help book, You're as Stupid as You Are Fat: How to Talk to Women. And that I'm just excited for the firestorm of comments I shall receive about that book. And you can, I mean, I'm on Facebook and Twitter, and my website is cathaldi.com, KATHALDI.com. And if you go there, you can find all the other ways to reach me. That's the easiest thing.
And remember, his name is La.
Lar. Lar.
Jason, my love.
Yes. I have the Ruined Man series coming out, and the first book, The Ruined Man, is coming out October 22nd. And this is my paranormal detective series, that urban fantasy, or whatever the kids are calling it these days. And it's coming out, like I said, October 22nd. So check it out. I'm on my website is jasondegray.com. And you can find me on Facebook because I don't Twitter or any of that stuff. So yeah, come find me there.
All right, guys, I've had a ball, and I thank you, thank you, thank you. It was awesome seeing you again. And Tahani, dear, I hope that you come back and join us. Okay?
Yeah, thanks.
I wish all of you much success. You know that, as always. And everyone, I am Opus Night, and you have just seen Night Vision. Have a great night, guys.
You too.
Bye-bye
Thank you.
now. Of course. Bye-bye now.
Bye.